It's crisp. It's very crisp.
Right. So when I'm listening to this, right, I don't necessarily have to watch the video, but I could have. And most people look at the podcast actually like as background noise. So they'll be doing chores. This is the feedback I get. You know, like
I have.
Right.
I have. I've
so like when
it.
you're driving, you're like just puttering around, that kind of thing. And you need clean audio for that. You don't want to be like struggling to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I've listened to your podcast while I was washing the dishes.
Yeah. And I listen to podcasts while watching the dishes too, folding clothes, all that shit.
All that stuff that I kind of mindless work, droning work.
Yeah.
That's when I listen to podcasts.
Because it makes you feel like you're in the room. You know what I mean? Like you're in the room having the conversation.
Yeah. I like the podcast format. I just like getting to listen to someone for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you get a better sense of what they're like.
Yes. It's different. It's not, like I said, it's not the interview PR BS thing, you know. It's like, you know, like you have supposedly important people on. I don't want to know what your thoughts are on what this other person did and what. I'm like, did you ever smoke weed? You know, like what was your experience as a young person like? You know, you ever like did something
I cannot
stupid?
confirm or deny. Like, you know, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Anyway, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, we're doing it. We're doing it. All right. Welcome to the Gyaff. Welcome to the Gyaff, Jamie McDonald. So lovely to have you. How you doing?
Great to be here. I'm good.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Don't tense up now that I just did intro. I just do that intro for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we were saying, the long form podcasting is just, you know, it's nice, man. And it's like, honestly, it's also nice to have people on the couch and just see them open up. You know, there's so many things that you get from people just having a casual conversation as opposed to pressing for an answer. You know, pressing for an answer that you think that you want or a certain demographic wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's different from just saying it as it is. You know.
How many of these have you done?
I want to say this is almost like 40 here.
40 of them.
Since the year, we kind of went hard this year, like because we had nothing to do in the beginning of the year. Business was so slow.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I just kind of, we did okay last year. I'm like, well, we had a good thing with the podcast previously, but let's like take it to the next level, you know, and get the equipment.
Well,
and we just ran with it, you know.
Production value is really good.
Yeah.
And the sound and the video, everything is really good. And then obviously it's just interesting.
Yeah. But do you feel like you hear from like people like that on a regular basis? Like, I mean, when you talk to them, you do. But don't you ever feel like sometimes you have a conversation with someone and you're like, I wish like more people can hear this. I wish more people understood this perspective. Yeah. Or at least tried to. You don't have to. And
that you can also be in an environment where everybody's accepting of it as well. And they're not on guard. Right. Because like you're saying, right? Like with those interview formats, everybody's on guard. They have a rehearsed answer. Mm-hmm. It's just BS.
Yeah.
Right? It's not what they really think when they're actually having a beer at the bar or at a barbecue with their friends.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we try to do here. We, you know, and sometimes we'll have some beers if it wasn't 12.
But right now it's coffee time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's nice. Anyway, what's the deal with you? Like, how's your life going?
I'm just really busy right now, man. I think I just feel like I'm really caught up in the family life thing. Uh-huh. Like if every time I think about, well, what am I really doing right now? And I just think to myself, I've got like 3 kids. And I think like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. But I look around right now and I don't have a lot of friends with 3 kids. Yeah. Like nobody has kids. Like everybody has like 1 kid or 2 kids, but I don't have a ton of friends that have a lot of kids.
Does your life change socially in the aspect of if, you know, even if you have friends with kids and they're not kids, your kids' age, you kind of sort of miss, like there's a lack of connection there as much.
Yeah, because it's not the same thing.
Because your sort of life revolves around, you know, your kid's life, so that translates to the social aspect. Blah, blah, blah.
So like you had to, like, I had my first child at 27, And the first 2 years of transition out of that was hard because I used to go out all the time.
Yeah.
And I just would spend a lot of time away from the house and that sort of thing. And for the first year, I wasn't, I gotta say, I wasn't that great, at it. I kind of was always out. And then and then as soon as he started to like to walk and talk, I got interested. And then I started to stay home more. I'd make excuses to friends. Oh, I don't want to go out. I'm not coming out. I'm just tired. I've got work to do or whatever. I'm just staying home just to spend time with the boy.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing. And then we got the second one, Zoe, 2 years later. And then I just solidly got into family life and I just stopped going out completely. All I did was just go to the gym, work, go home.
It's so much less appealing when you have that kind of responsibility and with just family, I mean, to go out. I mean, I don't have a family yet, but I'm married, and I think my wife doesn't really like to go out that much at all. But I feel like I'm also not as inclined. I like to socialize, but you're hardly gonna find me in like a public social place, like a club or a bar. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not really into the club sort of scene. Like, there's nothing in it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I might go to a bar or a place to eat with friends. And I like that, like, conversation. But a lot of my social life kind of centered around CrossFit and just powerlifting and lifting weights in the gym and that kind of thing.
This is actually what I wanted to talk to you about, because I have recently, I don't know if I told you I got on the CrossFit train. I'm now at Gears.
Oh, no, you did not.
Yeah.
You did not tell me, yeah.
And, well, I'm mostly lifting, but I love the CrossFit community and the sort of group effort that, you don't have to be on the same level as everyone, but you're kind of doing the same thing and everybody's kind of in your corner.
You'd come by me.
Yeah, I came a couple years ago.
Yeah, years ago when I was really into it, into the competition aspect and going around the Caribbean and that kind of thing. You were good at it.
I know.
You seem to have the mindset for it.
Because I liked the self-punishment. I was very sadistic that way. Still kind of am in in the aerobic training.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I remember we spoke about it and the self-punishment. Why though? Because
that comes from the fact that I was a fat kid, and then I kind of lost the weight, and then there was a point where I was more of like a long distance person, like a steady state cardio kind of person. But then to play squash and compete in squash, my uncle always told me, you got to push yourself to the limit. You got to hit that uncomfortability to then be able to sustain, because you give up too easily. When squash is explosive, right? So when your heart rate is jacked and you start to feel that pressure, you fold. So you got to get yourself accustomed to you got to be, he's real old school, right? And he was like, you got to be down, you got to be frothing at the mouth and then come off and you got to vomit up. And I really took that to heart, you know? Yeah. And by the way, and I'm not, him and I both knew that he was obviously exaggerating.
Yeah.
But as a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, you're so young and unbreakable that you can hit those things consistently, You can punish yourself like that. So I guess and when I started doing that, obviously because I was always a steady state guy, the progress just jumped. My pain threshold went really high. I obviously lasted a lot longer. I was tougher. And then into my later years, I felt like preparing for competition, that was like a position to put myself in. But then, the other day, it's so funny. And my wife laughs at me because she's like, yeah, you're either 0 or 100. You got to kill yourself or you ain't doing it. And the other day I was in the gym and I spoke to Dylan Mahadio. And I was like, Dylan, just out of curiosity, when you're training in the off season, when you're not competing, what percentage effort are you going at? Are you hitting 100, 90 all the time? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm doing 60, maybe 70. And then when competition comes up, push it up to 8 to 8 to 5. And I'm like, what?
So, you know, that's the key, though. That's the key. Like, people like you and me, I think, at least I had a similar experience. When I started CrossFit, I just like taking it to the hilt. I love the feeling of suffering.
Yeah.
Love the feeling of knowing that I did the most I could do to make myself better, because of it. You know, you think, okay, I exercise and you're going to have a positive adaptive response. You're going to get stronger for the next time. But, you know, going 100% all the time is probably not the best thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Burnout.
Yeah, it is. It will lead to burnout. So, like, I guess in my early 30s when I started CrossFit, I could do it. I could go really hard the first 2-3 years. You know, I could just go 100% in every workout. And then it started to take a toll. I couldn't do that anymore. And I knew I couldn't do it intellectually. I knew that my body was going to break down.
Yeah.
But I just was addicted
Yeah.
to the feeling. So that's what I found it interesting that you were into that as well.
It's like the equivalent of ego lifting, right?
It is. But then I wasn't really doing it for anybody anyways. It was just, I guess.
Well, no, you do, of course, but you kind of do it for yourself. You know, it's like, it's almost like I just gotta, you know, it's like that, like, it's weird. I mean, and I will say, I think I'm 32 now, but I have lately not been, I'll still do it every now and again, you know, but I'm
What's
not
that?
to push to push like to 100 and just sort of floor it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with lifting, I'm less inclined to do that. I don't do as much cardio. I kind of have to start back. I'm in a weird position right now because I'm really trying to like recomposition, because I've never really done that before.
Yeah.
And,
also, that's kind of a bodybuilding aesthetic kind of thing. And you feel weird about that because it's not performance-based.
Yeah. That, and then also because I'm quite insecure about gaining weight.
Yeah.
Not that I think I look fat, but I just feel...
You still have that in you. Like,
yeah,
you still,
bro. It's deep in me. And I think I'm like 180 now. And it's the heaviest I've been in like 10 years.
Well, I wouldn't have thought you were 180.
Yeah, people said that. But I'm taking creatine, which has probably put me up like 5 or 6 pounds.
I am too. I started taking creatine in the last 3-4 weeks.
Oh, really?
Again. Yeah, I haven't taken it for a few years.
Why are you taking it now?
Well, I'm taking it now because I had injured my knee in end of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not really putting out 100% in lifting, there's no reason for me to take creatine.
Yeah.
So I haven't taken creatine in a few years, basically. And in the last 6 months, I've really rehabbed the knee. So I'm not getting any issues anymore. So I figured let's start taking creatine again.
Yeah.
And it's fun to take creatine. You know,
you get that extra.
You do get a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
Even in running, like I feel like I got an extra gear even with the longer distance. Well, when I say longer distance, like a 5K.
Yeah.
I still feel like I can run a faster 5K when I'm on creatine.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed the difference aerobically yet, because I haven't really pushed since I've been taking it.
Only at the upper limit, I think. Like when you're really pushing and, you know, say you're doing 3 laps in the park. Well, it's a little bit more than 3 laps for 5K, but you're doing, if after the first lap you're completely out of breath, that kind of thing, where you feel uncomfortable. I don't know if I can finish this.
Yeah.
But you still do.
Yeah.
Like, I think creatine helps for that sort of performance.
I guess for me, I was taking it just for that extra bulk.
Just
but
bulk?
it does come down. Not really the bulk, but the muscle growth, you know? Like the kind of... I feel like when I lift, I still see... like, and I think a lot of people go through this. When you start lifting from not lifting a lot before, you notice a significant improvement in your muscle gains and your mass. And then you, within the first, like, I guess 2-3 months, you kind of plateau for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's harder to extract that improvement unless you really think about this is where the bodybuilding comes in. You have to refine your program. You have to change your diet, refine the program of lifting.
It's a well-known the novice effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's maybe just, you'd say the first few months, but it really lasts for a longer time. Maybe a year.
I think because I have the backbone of working out and stuff.
Yeah.
Inconsistently, but it's
Yeah,
there.
you're a mature athlete.
Yeah,
you have been working out for a while.
Right.
But for somebody who just started, first 2 years...
Yeah, they could ride that out a couple of years,
Yeah, that's why, you know, people can go to trainers and the trainers get good results with new clients, right? For the first year or two.
Yeah.
It's after that first year or two when you, like you said, you got to start thinking about the program. Oh man, I did 4 reps of this last week, and now I got to give the client 5 reps of this. But then they can't seem to get to that 5th rep, so I might as well come down on the weight and give that weight for 5, and then following charts, and that's when it gets a little bit more technical.
And I think a lot of people, aka me, who aren't disciplined enough to track that. Yet, I mean, I'm trying now, but like, I think that's where you kind of miss the improvement, because a lot of people will go and chuck. I'm making this up 50-pound dumbbells for like 2 years. You know what I mean? And think that like they just got to keep doing it. But you kind of really have to keep tinkering a little up, a little down.
You do,
reps.
and you don't have to go at 100%, like what Dylan, you spoke about with Dylan.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with, I've got a guy training me right now because of my problem of pushing to 100%. I've got a physio guy who is a guy named Dietary, really good physio guy who is also a powerlifter. So he's a competitor, so he understands that frame of mind.
Yeah.
Like the competitive frame of mind and wanting to get better. And I'm making gains in strength, even though I feel like I'm lifting at just 70% all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm never feeling tired or messed up. It's like, but over the course of like every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll notice I went up at like 5 pounds. And slowly, if you just, you spread that out over like 6 months to a year, I'll probably lift more. I could probably lift more than I've ever lifted, even though I think my peak was a few years ago.
Are you just doing CrossFit?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm doing CrossFit.
Okay.
I'd say I'm just exercising. I'm
Are you
training.
in a gym?
I'm training. Yeah, I've got my own gym.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I would say I'm doing powerlifting, like base powerlifting training, and then doing conditioning. I'll call it conditioning because, I don't know, I've kind of tried to distance myself from saying fully CrossFit because, okay, like there's 3 main tenets for CrossFit. There's the constantly varied functional movements performed at a high intensity, right? And the thing that I, in the last few years, don't agree with is the constantly varied part. I think it should be conscientiously or consciously varied. So like, vary the movements.
Yeah.
But you can't just come up with random shit like every day. Oh, today, guys, we're going to do 120 box jumps. And then tomorrow we're going to, get a deadlift PR. When, your hips...
Yeah,
your hips are fried from 120 box jumps that you had no real positive adaptive response from. Because you could go run and your lungs will get something out of it. And you probably hurt your knees are feeling sore as well after that. So you really need to think it through. So I think that constantly varied aspect of it should be changed. And there's a lot of coaches out there that are into CrossFit that have kind of gone towards that. Even the way, like, I don't want to talk about how a lot of people train, but some of the better athletes in Guyana train. They don't train traditional CrossFit. They don't go on CrossFit.com and pick up a workout and just do it. They're following like a base powerlifting, weightlifting routine, and then they're layering in conditioning pieces. And those are the guys that do the best. Yeah. Whereas everyone else who's doing kind of like cookie cutter CrossFit, they're kind of just picking up, the workout of the day, the WOD.
Push jerk, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's go push jerk, 50 times this thing and then run 400 meters for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
That's fine. Those can work, but you need to know how to push it, how to fit it in.
Yeah. I look at the push jerk WODs and I'm like, it's kind of hard to do this one after the other, which is why I'll selectively do it, mix with like the bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah, well, like I'm not gonna be doing pistol squats anytime soon.
Yeah.
With a meniscus tear, I'm not doing that.
How much of like, you're in great shape for your age.
No,
I know some people are thinking about that.
I don't care.
But you're not that old, you're 41. But like, how much, like the thing is with me, and I think a lot of people is that, especially people who aren't accustomed to bodybuilding and stuff like that, diet is obviously a big part. You will offset progress, or the certain aesthetic you want by your meal. For you, like, how much attention do you place on your diet? Or do you just have good genetics?
I think it's a bit of both, right? So I think plays a role for me, definitely. Neither of my parents had issues with weight, and they seemed to be able to eat, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can see a difference when I change my diet. Like I know that I could. I mean, if I really wanted, I could put on a lot of weight. Because my first, so I mean, just taking it back a little bit. When I was a kid, I used to drink about 4 or 5 Coca-Colas a day. Probably from the age of like 13 or 14. When my parents started giving me money when I'm going to school, and I would just like, that's what I would do. And I always had like a little belly. Like I wouldn't get
Really?
big, but I had like a little belly all the time because I was drinking 5 or 6 Coca-Colas a day for my whole high school period.
Yeah.
And my parents would just give me whatever I wanted. I mean, it could be as much as 8 or 9. It was an addictive kind of. They should have seen something was up there, right? Anyways, when I went to university, I was 20. I didn't know anything about calories or any of that stuff. I just used to exercise. I didn't care about nutrition. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
And then I looked at the back of a Coca-Cola can, and I'm like, man, wait a minute, this is 100, and this is gonna be like 10 teaspoons of sugar, or 14 or something like that. Like, I would never take 10 teaspoons of sugar and drink it 6 different times for the day. So I'm having like 60 teaspoons of sugar a day. What am I doing? I'm gonna be dead by the time I'm like 50. So I just stopped drinking Coca-Cola, and within 6 months, I just kept everything the same. I started to see abs.
Yeah.
So like, I did that for years, and it obviously was affecting, like, it's just not a huge thing, but it was affecting how I looked, and probably even how I performed, maybe a little bit, my sleep. I don't know what else, and so that was one thing. Also, though, in the first year of university, when I didn't have any idea about calories, I had put on about 20 pounds. So like right now I'm 140, and I'm always at 140 pounds, but I got up to 160, and that happened within 4 months, and
Of getting into college?
yeah.
Wow.
Because I was having like Wendy's every day.
Yeah.
And,
Freshman 15.
Yeah. And it was true. So, I mean, I know I can put on weight if I just eat complete garbage all the time. So, fast forward to now, after trying tons of different stuff to build muscle, cut, put bulk, all of that stuff, I think I have a simpler diet right now. Maybe it's all the fad right now, but I'm kind of, I don't do intermittent fasting, but I just don't eat a lot in the morning.
Yeah.
I just will have eggs.
Yeah.
3 to 4 eggs in the morning with coffee. And then I don't have lunch until around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then that's not even a huge lunch. Because that's about 2 hours before, 3 hours before I work out. I don't want to have too much stuff in my stomach. And then most of my calories I'm going to get at
Dinner.
night.
Yeah.
And I usually have like 2 dinners, like a...
Oh, really?
Like a kind of an okay... like just half of my dinner, earlier, and then half a bit later.
But that's not bad though. That's like I rather that than doing the whole. I used to do intermittent fasting, not by choice, just I just didn't like eating in the morning, and then I started having eggs. Like I'll have just the eggs and the coffee, like you. But I find when I do have breakfast, it opens up my metabolism, and I'm hungry within a couple hours. Like I'm ready to eat again.
Yeah, it starts it off, and then you
Yeah.
feel like you need to eat every few hours.
Yeah.
And I
don't really like.
get super sluggish during the day
Oh yeah.
when I'm eating during the day. So I think I'm more productive with less food in me.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting to do. I mean, again, I'm just trying to work it around the program so you don't sort of get discouraged by doing it, Because if you're working
What is
out,
that? The way your diet?
Yeah, my
But yet
diet.
it shouldn't feel like a diet. It should
I know,
feel like
exactly.
this is how I eat.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's just timings I'm talking about. Then
Yeah.
there's the actual food. Like, what are you eating?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's the eggs and stuff, but like, what am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? For me, I don't think
Snacking and alcohol is what's gonna kill me, I think.
alcohol is probably the worst thing I
I
have.
love like wine, so I don't drink. I don't drink every day, but you know, a couple times a week I'll have a couple glasses. You know.
Beer,
Yeah.
Guinness.
Yeah.
I like Guinness. The problem is we go to when I take the kids to squash at Georgetown Club. There's Guinness there that's really really cool. So as I'm waiting on the kids, there's always somebody there that wants to buy you a Guinness,
Yeah.
and so that happens at least twice a week. So that's a little hole in the diet there. But whatever, you
Yeah. No,
you gotta live,
have to.
man.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
But I
Yeah.
think carbs is a big thing though. For me, I don't think I do as well with a lot of carbs. I don't need tons of carbs. I like a lot of meat. I always like lots of meat, and I guess fats.
Yeah.
Carbs, I don't like a lot of rice. I prefer bread, but I don't think it's probably all that great for you. And I usually keep it, to less than a fistful in my plate.
That makes you sluggish to me.
What, the carb?
carbs? Yeah. I love rice. I don't eat a ton. I'll probably eat a fistful a day too, but I love meat and veggies. But my only issue is that veggies are so expensive here. Like I think the only thing I've been eating is like pumpkin and maybe some like cabbage or like beans, which are not really veggies. But, but
They're
like
non-meat, non-regular carb.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
seems, yeah.
So
Everything is expensive. Food is just super
It's ridiculous.
expensive right now. I mean, I never used to pay attention, right? It would but generally when we go to do, maybe 60 to 70% of the time when we do groceries, my wife and I will do groceries together.
Yeah.
And I'm always the one throwing shit in the like garbage, right? In the cart. But man, the last year, the bills are, it's
Through the roof.
yeah, man, it's really, really expensive.
Yeah.
Super expensive. I don't know how people are doing it.
I spoke to a friend of mine who has a family of 4, and he was like, they spend a few episodes ago we were talking about this grocery thing, and I was like, I spent 50 grand the other day, and that's exorbitant for me, because we're usually like
That's
late.
you and
And
your
my wife, yeah, because we're usually like late 20s, pushing 30, and we're like, okay, we gotta tighten up here. So we're kind of conservative, relatively. This is all relative, right? Some people spend less, some people spend more. But a friend the other day was like, if their family, and they're not a rich family, by the way, but he's like, they spend like easily 150 a month on groceries. And I'm like,
see that. Yeah.
and I'm sure you do, because with kids, it's like, you got to make sure they're fed, but that's crazy.
I can tell you, I spend more than that.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the boy is 13. He's eating more than me. I mean, he's still smaller than me, but he's just eating all the time now.
Yeah.
And same with the girls. So we're filling up the waters all the time now. We're just buying food all the time. I'm buying, I don't know how many eggs we're buying a week. It's like 60 eggs a week. I don't know how many eggs. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive. And then when you've got a baby, the formula stuff, luckily we don't, not luckily, but we haven't had to use a ton of formula. But the diapers, the formula.
How much is a can of formula right now? You know,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's probably like, I don't know, maybe a small can is 5 or 6 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably more. I don't know.
That's like once a week kind of thing.
Yeah. So you're going to spend 20 grand in formula. I mean, luckily for us, our boy has an issue with all the formulas. So not luckily, but
Yeah.
but not luckily for Angelino.
Yeah.
So he's just still breastfeeding at 11 months.
Okay.
So it means that we've saved on the formula thing. So I don't even know how much it costs anymore, but I remember it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Along with diapers.
Yeah.
I don't know how people are making do unless, wages are going up big time. I hope.
Yeah. So you have, for people that don't know, you are in the fitness business. You own Fitness Express, which is a great store, by the way. Love going there. How do you find your industry and market growing? I mean, I feel like there's a lot. In the past couple of years, we've seen a lot more development in terms of, people hitting the gym, new gyms opening up, new types of training and stuff like that. Have you sort of noticed, things like growing on your end, just
Yes.
from the business side?
Yeah. Actually, I'm one of the businesses that kind of came out of COVID pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. What happened during COVID? I mean, just when COVID was happening, I was like, oh, just like everyone else that had a business, you were very worried. It's like, oh man, this is going to be a disaster. We're going to have to be closed forever. I don't know, who knows what's going to happen. But what ended up happening is that we sold out all of our exercise equipment
Oh yeah.
because everybody needed exercise equipment for their home and for their apartments and all of this stuff. And so we had a huge shift to exercise equipment. And I think since 2021 or 2020, halfway through 2020, we've just been growing
Yeah.
just from that. I mean, we still are selling tons of exercise equipment and well, we're known for sports supplements. That's how we started. And I mean, that's continuous. The sales for that have gone up as well. I think there's just more demand. There's just more people. Something like sports supplements, that's groceries for people. So they're
Yeah.
going to get that every month.
Yeah. The religious lifters.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I've seen, like, we've been open since,
It's okay.
we've been open since 2010. So I remember when we first opened, it took a lot of convincing people that, supplements aren't steroids.
Yeah.
We were like the first, right?
That's how I used to feel about creatine.
Yeah, good. Oh,
Yeah.
creatine. You're hiding the creatine from your mom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
She thinks it's something you're taking roids,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how we started. And then I remember there was a big push in maybe 2013 or so on when gold started to go up. There was gold was doing really well in Guyana for a little while, and we used to sell a ton of exercise equipment to all these gold places. That's how we started with the exercise equipment. They would set up gyms in the interior.
Oh really?
And they would also come and buy big batches of supplements for the workers because the guys needed stuff to do. They would work out at the
Camp.
at the camp or whatever, right? And these guys would come in and the companies would be buying protein for them, and it was interesting.
Wow.
I mean, so we had that little bit of a push, and now everything is oil. Everything is oil. So in the last 2.5, 3 years, just tons of oil people coming in.
Yeah.
Right, and of
Interesting.
course you don't have to convince them about protein or anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
they're
It's,
coming from that culture, right?
yeah.
The GNCs and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
GMC, yeah. Yeah, it's funny how we kind of are always the last on the boat with those sort of things. Just looking how the feelings we hold towards certain things based on no scientific evidence, just sort of suspicion.
In terms of what?
Like the whole supplement thing.
Yeah. Oh, the superstition.
Yeah, the superstition of, oh God, no, we can't do that. That's steroids, or that's we just sort of not informed. And I guess maybe also the research wasn't readily available as it is now. I guess you're seeing it everywhere.
I mean, there's so much information.
Yeah.
Actually, there's too much information.
Yeah, there is, because my algorithm is overloading me with one person says this is wrong, the other person said that's right. It's like.
I still try to keep it simple with, without focusing too much on the business.
Yeah.
I still try to keep it simple with customers, and I tell and have our employees do the same. The stuff that's always worked is what works. Like some of the new fad stuff, we don't really get into it too much. There's always going to be some sort of new green coffee extract, shed weight really quickly, or this new compound that builds muscle, no side effects or whatever. Honestly, protein, either whey or a vegan source, pea protein, rice protein, whatever, creatine, and some multivitamins. If you just took those three things, you're pretty much good. And maybe individual vitamins if a doctor has determined that you're deficient in any particular vitamin because of a particular health concern or whatever. That's what works. Maybe, one or two of the amino acid things.
Sure.
But the rest, most of those are fads. And even if they work, the study is like some rat study or some study done on 7 people, and it worked for 6 weeks, and then after that, your baseline came back to normal, even though you were still taking the supplement.
Yeah.
So, it's better to stay with just the regular stuff.
It's funny too how we're supplements or the acceptance of that is one thing, and that's a big jump that has happened a while ago. But the whole sort of self-image where that's going, it's no longer about health anymore or pushing yourself like we discussed. It's just sort of this, everything's about the aesthetic, right? Whether that's through like, I've noticed that just in the lifting community, it's way more, I guess, liberal in the US than it is here. But it does exist here with the, anabolic steroids and stuff like Tren and all this stuff. You got like Ozempic and stuff on the market now, which is a big thing for weight loss, and then also the plastic surgery stuff that's available now.
It's like seen some interesting ads.
I can't not see a penis enlargement ad from Sheriff.
Yeah, I saw that, and then I saw the next one, the vaginoplasty.
Yeah, the rejuvenation.
They had both of them. They had both of them up.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think and that's kind of where the world is with, especially with social media, when you're always projecting your image.
People always said, look to Trinidad like a few years ago and what they were into, and we've now gotten there.
Okay.
Like 10 years ago, when you met a Trini person, they were very into their gym culture was already solid. They all were going to the gym. They have the whole carnival culture.
Yeah.
And they all get into shape for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's been happening for a while now.
Yeah.
Guyana wasn't so much we weren't like that 10 years ago, or not so much. But now we have. Another thing is, that's even with like the traffic. The traffic in Trinidad used to be really horrible like 10 years ago, and now we're seeing it here. It's just development. It's part of just our general development. We have like tons of people coming in, lots of money coming in. And so many factors, and then of course there's just so much information online, and the algorithms just shooting you everything based on your insecurities and what you just found interest in for 5 minutes, and then it starts pushing that to you.
Yeah.
But I think, and then you're seeing all these perfect people. Like Instagram is not real.
Yeah.
When you go on Instagram, you're seeing all of the best pictures filtered out. Even when I post a picture, which I never post, I don't know when last I posted a picture, but you still go through and make sure, this one.
Yeah.
This is the right one, right?
Yeah.
And it's not real. So I think everybody gets into this weird competition to try to optimize themselves and this pressure.
But also you just don't look like that 24/7 too. I'm never going to take a selfie of, me in the mirror with massive chest pump, abs, oblique cut. And it to me, I don't think that's, maybe some people can, but to have that aesthetic 24/7 is almost impossible. You kill yourself.
The top 1% of 1% have that.
Yeah.
They just walk around like that. Most people, that's just not how you look all the time.
Yeah.
But people are concerned with it, and they're going to go to the extreme. I have noticed lots of youngsters coming into the store. The store is a place where you get a feel of what's going on in the industry and with fitness and sports in general, because so many athletes and so many people come in the store that are into fitness and athletics, but there's a lot more drugs. So it's weird now, because at first people were concerned about steroids and that kind of stuff. Now subs are like groceries. Mm-hmm. Now people are just taking steroids. Like a lot of those young guys, they're like 18 years old. They have the highest testosterone levels they're ever going to have in their life, and they're still on steroids. It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, but it's just a faster route to the goal, right? I mean, like, I don't want to say it's less work, but it's 2 times the results. No,
it depends on genetics too, right?
What is like the main the in terms of the steroids? What's the most common one that you think is being used?
I think the stuff that probably whatever the doctor can prescribe. So like doctors can prescribe testosterone, and they have it in the pharmacies. So most of the time, people just go to the pharmacies and just ask the pharmacist.
Oh, really? So it's not
Well,
It's not a black market drug.
well, it can be. You can prescribe certain types of testosterone,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Because for muscle wastage, people can take it for immune diseases. They give it to older men. So I think it's easier to get now than ever before because of the fact that it's not really technically a black market drug. It's certain versions of it. Of
Right.
course, then there's a whole black market
Sure.
of stuff that's made in labs that are underground and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
And what do those things? I mean, for a youngster who's 18 who wants to, and again, it's the easiest time to look like that when you're that age, right? Because your body is just, like I said, unbreakable.
Yeah.
But what's the risks that they're sort of
Well, I
getting
mean,
into?
all of us, anybody who is, well, I can speak for myself. Anybody who's been in the whole bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, strength training, even athletics game has probably thought, I wonder what I would be like
Yeah. Yeah.
if I
Definitely.
took
I think every man
every
has maybe
single,
thought
yeah,
about that.
yeah. I think even women that are just, that
Sure.
are, I see it with a lot of women, like they say they would never, and then they get to a certain level and they even think about it,
Sure.
something that won't have side effects. I just think it's the competitive nature of people, and just the desire to get better. But
Yeah.
the side effects, I mean, I've done some research on it, and the side effects for me personally are unacceptable, or the possibility of side effects, at least at this age. Even now at 41, when they say, your testosterone should be going down, I wouldn't take any. It's just that generally what happens after a couple of months, you'll shut down your body's own testosterone production. And then, and this is even if a doctor is giving it to you and prescribing it and giving you the right amounts. Which means, I mean, your testicles produce testosterone. So generally after about maybe 6 to 8 weeks, they shrink.
Don't use it, you lose
And
it.
yeah, and then it doesn't produce testosterone anymore. So you're dependent now. That person becomes dependent on exogenous testosterone.
Right. But is that not reversible when you get off?
It is for most people, but sometimes I mean, so many people come into the store and you can tell they got so big so fast, and then they come in and they're looking for natural test boosters.
Right.
Like natural herbal stuff to boost their test because they've just come off of it, and they're trying to regain their libido, just the feeling of confidence,
Yeah.
or whatever it is that you're feeling with lots of testosterone.
Right.
So that is one of the risks that to me is unacceptable. Even added risk of cancer or issues with the heart. If you have a pre-existing heart condition that you have no clue about, you may be young, but when you do that, you put strain on the heart as well, because sometimes the heart muscle will grow a little bit too fast, like in a natural way, and then it messes with the whole thing. So I the only way I would take it personally is if I get older. I mean, maybe when I'm 60, 70, and I just want to feel younger. And I mean, you have less time anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who cares about the side effects, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's. And again, we're not here to preach. It's just an interesting discussion from my end.
I have no problem with people taking it.
Neither do I.
Because there's some people that will take it and there's no side effects, man.
Yeah.
And they got through life fine.
And they look great.
They're super healthy. They're gonna live longer than you. They're gonna come to your funeral.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's kind of like the thing. I mean, it's kind of like with smoking, right? There's some people who smoke cigarettes their whole life and they live to like 80 something, 90, and they're good. And then you have the person that's maybe smoked once or never smoked and he got cancer at 40. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, by the way, that obviously there's if you're more likely for these conditions if you do it, but there's always the exception. So it's like, I'm not judging, but
I think I read something about when it comes to cancer. I mean, like 50% of it is just random mutation a lot of the time. At least that's what they think, because they don't know what the cause might be.
Yeah,
right?
No, 100%. I had an aunt who gluten-free for most of her life, refused to use a microwave because she felt that was radiation in her food. So she would hot up all her stuff on the stove. She got, when she was 70 something, almost 80, she got brain cancer. Like
and that's
crazy.
Just random.
And lived a totally healthy life, worked out every day, and it's like, what the hell?
I don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff in the foods. I don't know. I mean, I see there's like microplastics and everything now. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist type guy.
No, but there's definitely some
But
stuff.
I'm pretty sure that we.
And also the shit they're trying to sell you. I mean, like, what do you think about the all these meat alternatives? Have you ever tried it? I haven't actually had it yet. The Beyond Meat, Beyond Burger.
You know, I've been pretty like probably on like I've been dismissive of that stuff. Maybe it's a bit unwarranted on my end, and I'm just being
same.
You know, I'm just like, oh, well, you know, we're trying to be healthier, and like these guys are trying to make like some meat alternative in a lab somewhere. Like, how great is it really gonna be?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
There's a big vegan push.
Yeah.
Which I'm not really into. I'm not.
Same.
I'm not. I just don't think that's how human beings.
Yeah, I'm against industrialized farming. Like, you know, this huge, like, not against, but I'm not, obviously, like, I don't like to see it. But I always tell myself this: if I had to kill my own meat, like if I had to hunt for my own meat, my perspective on meat would be a lot different. You know, I think I would still eat it.
You might enjoy it more, and which sounds weird. People are like, "Oh, what? You killed it?" And you
enjoy it in the sense I'd be more grateful.
Yeah,
for it.
you'll be more grateful, and be like, "Look, I killed this thing, died, and you know I should enjoy it. Like, why am I throwing half of this thigh bone away or whatever?"
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. And I think like it's so easy for us as modern day society to be preachy, and be like, you know, but I you know, you kill my meat for me and let me go get it nicely packaged in the grocery store, you know, like until you really see it. And I've had that experience a couple of times, like in like silly ways, but like I was in the interior one time and we were on the river. And so like, you know, the market is not easily accessible at all, but they had chickens running around the place. And it's like in a village. And they were like, oh yeah, we having chicken stew for dinner, chicken curry or something like that. And they literally catch a chicken and they put it in like a rice bag and just lay coconuts on top of it till it like suffocates to death. Or then another time they just like,
I'm laughing at
yeah,
that.
I mean, that's what it is, dude. But then another time they like cut the throat and just like throw it in like the land in the river, you know, let it bleed out. And it's like, it's brutal to watch, but it's like, what do you think they're doing in like the factories, you know? Like it's not that different. It's like, they're dying just as quickly.
I don't, but do you like prepare chicken, like cut it up and clean it and do all that stuff, or you just buy like the chicken breast, you know?
No, I do both.
You do both. Yeah.
I do both. I don't buy chicken obviously like with feathers on it.
Okay.
Not like that.
Yeah.
That's just an inconvenience to me. Like
I never do it. It's just that, I mean, what do people think we're doing? We're just cutting up something that was alive and you're gutting it and you're getting it ready to. I mean, I think if more people did that, I think a lot of people aren't doing that.
It's also taking the life, right? It's like to kill something is and this is, by the way, this is like, you know, it's in we've done this for centuries, you know, like to kill animals to survive, you know, but the thought of it in modern day society is obviously a bit repulsive or you know, it feels wrong. And it's obviously wrong to kill for cruelty or whatever, but if you're killing to survive, it has to happen, whether it's you doing it or the big
we've been
factory
put in
doing
this
it.
situation where that's what our descendants have done for eons, and what else are we supposed to do? Like, I mean, that's what we had to do to survive, and now we can't like try to change reality by coming up with something that's a little bit more palatable just right now because we feel uncomfortable about it. I mean, if there was some sort of way to make meat that is the same quality and they did it in a lab and you could tell, you could know for sure that it wasn't bad for you, wasn't going to give you cancer, and give you all the same health benefits, taste not just as good, maybe I would go for that. But
there would always be conspiracy around that, though.
Yeah, well, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but it could happen maybe in 150 years.
Yeah.
You know, that would become a norm. Maybe, you know, give it a few generations and people will feel a little bit more comfortable with that idea. Me personally, I don't right now. I think I like beef.
I love meat. I don't think I could stop.
And chicken.
Yeah. I love vegetables too, but I can't go along without meat.
I did the vegetarian thing for maybe about 3 weeks. which is not that long, right?
It's not bad.
And I couldn't recover as fast
Yeah.
from when working out. And I tried to do it without protein powder.
Oh, really? Were you satiated? Like, I mean, did you feel like satisfied?
No, I felt
after?
kind of bloaty all the time with a lot of beans and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And peas and whatever. And I felt my digestion was really good though. Like I felt kind of healthy, I guess, in a kind of a way. But I just didn't feel as energetic and I didn't perform as well. I couldn't get away with the nonsense that I usually do, which is I generally don't sleep that much. And then I work out pretty hard. And I just couldn't do that on a vegetarian kind of diet. Like I didn't feel so.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't getting enough protein. I did for a week at the end, in that third week, I did add in the protein powder, vegan protein, and I did feel a lot better. So it can be done with the protein powder. But then after that week, I was like, look, I like meat too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Well, why'd you decide to do that? Just to see how it feels?
Just see what it was like. I mean, I'm around it all day. People asking about diet and how to eat, and I feel like I'm talking out my ass if I don't know
Yeah.
about what it's like to at least try it.
You ever tried an extended no sugar diet?
Yes.
That kind of messes with you, I think.
Yeah, man, you get very irritable.
Yeah, very irritable.
Super
Like, you're
irritable.
like, you know, your nerves are on fire. You know, like you just feel like.
I mean, I used to take in 6 teaspoons of sugar a day, so
Yeah.
it's really hard to not have any sugar. I generally have to have some sort of sugary thing sometime in the day.
Yeah.
A little bit, not much, but just the feeling of it.
Yeah. And then the cravings get bizarre, like after.
And when you say no sugar, what do you mean?
I mean, like you really limit your sugar, like you no processed sugar, so like no sugar in your coffee, no sweet drinks. You're also limiting like your high natural sugar intake as well.
Even fruits and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've never been a big fruits person.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just don't really. I don't eat a lot of fruits.
Oh, I love a smoothie.
Yeah. I never like that stuff. I don't like
Yeah.
juice, smoothies or anything. I just like the regular protein shake, kind of like chocolatey, caffeinated type smoothie
Yeah, I've
stuff.
never been a fan of protein shakes. I don't even take it now. Like with even the creatine, like I
If
kind of
it's-
just try to eat more meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like. It's not I don't like it or I can't take it. I just feel like I'd rather eat the food.
You know,
Personally.
same here, and I don't take it every day, not every single day, but I feel like my body needs a bit more than other people.
Yeah.
Like there's this general rule: 1 gram per pound of body weight, or maybe 0.8
Yeah.
gram per pound of body weight. I feel like for me, it's like 1 point something, 1.2, 1.3. So like if I'm 140 pounds, I feel like I need 160 grams a day. Like over time, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like everything, I grow better, I recover better.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the extra scoop kind of helps me, because it's just sometimes, man, you're just eating so much meat.
Yeah.
I mean, you like it, but like, during the week, I'm not like focusing on having the tastiest stuff ever. It's just sometimes just some chicken breast that's on the pan. And how much of that are you going to eat?
Mm-hmm. It messes with you well. I've tried it before. Like it's like the quintessential weighing your food. That used to me up.
What's that?
Like weighing your food, like the
Oh,
meal prep
you did
and stuff
that?
like that. Yeah, I've tried it before. And I
Why?
didn't like
Why
it.
did you do that? Just
Because I was paying for a gym membership. I had a trainer, and I had a goal.
okay,
And actually,
okay.
I'll get to this in a second. But it falls into the fact that if you are doing a program or something and your goals are vague or ambiguous, then you're destined to failure. I was listening to a podcast the other day about this, and it totally made sense. It's like, oh well, I want to go to the gym because I want to be cut. Well, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So like the minute you're like punishing, you're killing yourself. You're not eating the stuff you want. You have to go through all this like BS about weighing food, and then you're not cut. What is that? So you kind of, it's so easy in like the first couple of weeks to be like, I give up. Like I'm not. Whereas if your approach to gym has to, or this whatever program has to be like consistency. I just need to show up.
You think that's
I
your
need
like
to-
athlete sort of approach to things, like something measurable? You need to know what what it is.
For an athlete, I guess the measurable thing is winning, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how can I dominate?
Yeah,
How
and by
can I
how,
win?
and you get to see by how many points.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
That,
Well,
so
I
it-
beating
yeah.
you 3-2 versus beating you 11
Yeah,
love or whatever
yeah.
is that's measurable. That's like I did this, you know, like it's what
Yeah.
this is what I'm putting out.
Yeah, every time I do 100 like forehands, I'm getting 95, like consistently. Last time, I used to be in the 80s. Whatever you can
Yeah.
you can measure it, right?
sure,
You
for
want to
sure.
measure it. Something like being cut is kind of big.
Yeah,
I want to
it's
lose
super
some weight.
big.
I want to be fitter.
You could, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
just-
even like losing weight, like, but you put on muscle, you end up weighing more. You're like, what the hell? You freak out, you know. If your goal was to lose weight,
I think the how you feel and the mirror probably is a better. It's a better. I mean, look, losing weight on the scale tells you something, but it's not the whole thing.
no, definitely not.
It's not the
Definitely
whole
not.
thing.
But if you have like a sort of body dysmorphia, which I feel like I may have,
I understand you.
You know, it's-
I
it's-
understand.
it's
I'll
tough
tell
to-
you. Look. There's a reason why I'm probably always been in shape since I was 20 years old, or even before that, 16. By the time I was 16, that was it. I was done growing,
yeah,
and everybody said, "Oh, you're gonna be tall like Dad. Dad's like 6 foot and stuff." Like, oh yeah, that's great.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then that didn't happen.
Oh, yeah.
So then I felt that, well, I got to go to the gym and make up for that.
yeah, you got to
And
compensate.
I think that kind of fueled it the whole
Right.
way through. So I'm like, oh, if you're gonna go through life like this, I might as well be always the fittest guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really?
I guess that's what's in my head. I mean,
Yeah, it's funny how
Yeah.
that like those like I don't want to call them traumas because they're not. That's not what it is.
No.
But it's like it's those like childhood like experiences or like sort of reckoning with identity cause you to turn into like who you are today.
Yeah,
Because even
yeah.
though I like make fun of this, I got body dysmorphia, I was a fat kid and I got fat phobia. I'm actually like really happy for it because it drove so much other things in me. Like the competitive nature, the discipline. I feel like I'm a better person.
Likewise, and for my
Yeah.
same sort of like situation, I would have said I think it did.
I don't ever feel
great
like I'm a
things for me.
victim. I don't ever feel like I'm like, oh,
It's useless, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of useless to kind of wallow
Yeah.
in I feel like I'm a victim. Obviously, sometimes you don't feel great.
No. I think sometimes you need some validation from whatever it is you're looking for. Obviously, you don't want everybody praising you, but you want to know your efforts haven't gone unnoticed.
No, exactly. No, I think it's just confidence, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody has an idea of what they think their optimized self can be because, like, you have an idea of what it would be, what my ideal self will be, but I can never be that. And then
Yeah.
you have what is my optimized real self.
Yeah.
And the closer you get to your concept of what that is, I think the happier you are.
Sure.
And the more confident and you go through life a little bit easier. But then at the same time, I think it's good for you to just feel a little bit shitty.
Oh yeah.
I mean, people don't like to say that, but I feel like it's okay to just, I don't feel great about this. I think it gives you motivation to keep pushing.
Gives you perspective.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta tighten up here. I gotta touch up here. Like I feel like it's so in that same thread of thought. It's easy to get lost in the high of being on top of whatever it is. Of how you feel or
Yeah.
and you sort of let that take over and you forget who you are.
I don't, for me, no. I never, like, for me, I think I still always have like a little bit of an issue with myself. So like I'm always on my toes. Like I'm
Okay.
always like, look, because as soon as I get to something that I achieve, after 2-3 weeks, it kind of wears off. And then there's something else,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're talking probably about something different now, but I mean, it's still all kind of, it's part of the whole interplay
Yeah.
of why I would probably be at gym all the time. It's part of me being, at least in my head, being a successful person.
Yeah. That's so interesting. That feels really relatable to me because I feel like I felt that way about squash. I don't play nearly as much anymore. I try to play once a week if I can, but it's sometimes doesn't
Only
happen.
once a week? I thought,
Yeah,
wow.
bro. And
I would have thought that you.
I
you
know,
play
right? Like everybody
3
says
times
that.
a week or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been such a part of my identity and who I am for such a long time. Where like up to a few years ago, it was just like I measured my success as a person, like you just said,
Yeah.
based on how well I was doing, or like, because squash has always been my identity. So I feel like I could fall back on that. So regardless of how good things were going at work or my personal life or whatever, I'm like, I'm not fully there unless the squash is good, unless I'm dominating. And I feel like
Yeah.
as I became like, or started to become more of a professional in business and other things, and valued myself other things by my relationships, or by my, the state of my marriage, or the state of my relationships with my family, my business and how I conduct business, all these other things. And then it just became less and less important to me. And I think like it's not bad in the sense of like, because a lot of people are beating me now, and like the youngsters are coming up, and then I'm not the best anymore. And it felt weird, because you're so accustomed to, for a while,
being
and all
on
this
top.
work you put in, and again, I'm still reckoning with it now, and I'm still, trying to compete and having fun with it. But I just feel like the transition period for me has been like kind of like something I've had to work through. I'm sort of now like, okay, well, you don't have to go off into the sunset or anything like that. Like, be put down quietly
you're so
over
young,
the hill.
man. You could.
I know.
Look
but,
at Nicolette, man.
right,
You
but
know
it's
what I
like,
mean?
but
But
it's
there's a lot of you have to put a lot of work into it if you want to be.
100%. But to that point, I don't think I have the time or the will to, because I know how much work goes into being that good. And it's not a forgiving sport. So it's like, I know I'm having to reshape my identity and being like, okay, it's okay. Like you can do good at this, but approach it differently. Don't put so much chips on it in terms of how you should feel.
Yeah, because if you don't do
yourself.
well, then it's like you're devastated.
Exactly.
I had a devastating week for no reason. It was because I lost.
But you haven't put in
game.
the work, You haven't put in the work.
So I guess that's how you could feel comfortable, though, knowing that, look, I don't even have a chance to put in the work that's required. So how can I even measure myself by that?
For sure. I mean, it's like, but again, at the same time, you still want to compete. So it's like, okay, well, I got to figure out a balance. I gotta be happy with what I did, and just, if it works out, great. If not, back to the drawing board,
See, that's how I feel. In the last few years, I had this idea with CrossFit that I would have, probably competed a bit more, like in maybe stuff with partners, or team sports, like team sort of CrossFit stuff. But to do well at CrossFit, you've got to spend so much time at the gym, like hours and hours. And I don't know if, for me, there's so many, like you said, there's so many other things I'm doing in my life now. I just don't have the time. Like, so I can't, I've had to transition from, in the last 2-3 years, which kind of coincided with this injury I had with my knee. I had to just become comfortable with no longer being at my peak. Because I'm 41, it is a bit different than where you're at. 32, you might feel you're not in your 20s, and maybe you're, you can't recover quite as well as like 22.
Yeah.
But when you're at 41, you really can't recover as well, right? So I just had to kind of get comfortable with prioritizing what it is that I wanted to do with my life. My kids, business, family. My parents are getting older. I've got to spend time with all of them.
Yeah.
And spending 4 hours in the gym 4 or 5 times a week, it's just too much.
Yeah.
So I had to transition away from that and still be okay with it. Because for me, I used to kind of see that time as almost some sort of weird therapy.
Oh, yeah.
It's
non-negotiable.
Yeah, because like I would have a day in business, like at work, where your day is a failure, right? I didn't clear the goods, I didn't finish this quote, whatever. So your day is done, and you didn't really achieve anything, right? But I'm gonna go to the gym, and I can't wait to get this workout in, and I would just spend all this time there, and then I would socialize with people there as well. It's been tough, kind of like. Now when I go to the gym, it's like I got to spend an hour 3 times, 4 times a week, and then I got to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more comfortable with it now, though.
Yeah, that's important. I noticed you guys sponsor a lot of like these fitness events, a lot of CrossFit events too, bodybuilders. How do you develop like relationships with like these like events and athletes, and so like how is that for you? Like what have you sort of learned from doing that, marketing the business that way?
So I guess I've always put it out there how what I chose to do with marketing our business. Our business is small; it's not a big business. Um, so I wanted to maximize, our marketing. When we opened the store in 2010, my idea was that I need to like understand my niche market
Yeah.
because I used to work at a nutrition store as my part-time job when I was in university in Toronto. So I kind of knew there are different types of people that come into that type of store, right? You need to know all the people at the gyms and all of the gyms. So if you know everybody at all, if you network well with all of the gyms, you're going to get a big customer base. So very early on, I got into the bodybuilding federation and the powerlifting federation. I kind of befriended the people there. I got into that. I even competed at powerlifting, and then I noticed that this is like these niche sports like powerlifting, bodybuilding. There was not a lot of money in it. No one supported it. So it was an easy sort of way for me to get in there and support it. And like for instance, they never had any cash prizes. When we got in there, we would put some cash prizes or we'd give supplement hampers. And I guess that was one approach to network with them. And then the next approach was instead of having ads, say, like in the newspapers, paying to just put an ad.
Worthless.
Yeah, right. Just to me, I was like, why not just give an athlete the same money as spending money for his trip? And I get a picture in the papers. And I promote the athlete, I help him out, I promote myself. And I get way more out of this money. And everybody is happy. And I really stuck to that from the get-go. And that worked out very well for me. I mean, I guess people that use that all the time, that approach, but I really use that approach.
Have the programs grown enough where it sort of brought value, increasing value to your brand, like whether it's bodybuilding or CrossFit or all these other things that you've been attached with?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, bodybuilding. I don't know if bodybuilding is. I would say it grew, but I mean, not. It's just still a niche of about 500 people. That in Guyana that just start into that. They'll go to the cultural center and watch, people in underwear kind of flex their muscles. Like those people are gonna go no matter what. But I guess when I started off, it was probably only like 150 people. Same thing with powerlifting. Not a huge community, but all the powerlifters, they're trainers, gym owners, and they control a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, you can get, once you're networked well, everybody will say, oh, go to Fitness Express for this or that.
Yeah. Is there room, I guess, for like your brand? I mean, in other parts of Guyana, you focus on more just centralizing.
I mean, I've thought about that. I think now there's probably more scope to
Yeah.
get outside of Georgetown. I mean, I don't think I need any more locations in Georgetown. I mean, even in a big place like Toronto, there's not a whole ton of supplement stores all over the place. If you look at population size and how much one location can service people. I think just having the lowest prices and having availability and people will come to you. But like, for instance, maybe in Berbice or up in Linden or Essequibo, maybe I could.
Yeah, Barbies is like a big I mean, I don't know how much disposable income they have, or how much they're into like lifting. But
That
I
would
feel
be
like,
the first place
yeah,
for me.
just by numbers,
Yeah. Or even over the river. Over the river is
Uh-huh.
also not a bad spot. But I mean, there are other supplement stores too that have like kind of popped up,
Yeah.
which I think is a good thing. It hasn't been bad for me.
What's not stopping us from like, I mean, I guess it's mostly private investment, but how come we don't have any like CrossFit boxes? Like, how come that sort of, is there not like a full market for that yet, or is it just like it's just too big of an investment to, recoup costs on just membership?
Again, like I think the CrossFit community they had a big problem a few years ago, where they had the founder. This guy, Greg Glassman, he got into some sort of issue in the office, like a Me Too thing. Remember back then there was this Me Too
Okay.
sort of thing. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what happened. I can't remember the details. And then he had to give up his position as CEO and divest his investment in CrossFit. So he's no longer associated with it. And I think the stuff that he did to CrossFit, he disbanded the media marketing team and the media team just a few months before he left. He did a lot of damage to CrossFit. And since then, I haven't seen it grow. I've actually seen a reduction in CrossFit boxes in the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah, like we really had a good thing going, and then suddenly it was cut. And I mean, you can also attribute this to COVID. Like we really had good momentum going, and I think the best competition that we had probably was in 2020, the last one in February, and then not soon after COVID happened, and we brought a lot of people from the Caribbean, and ever since then we've been trying to build it back. But when you check, you know, these gyms that were once licensed CrossFit boxes are no longer licensed CrossFit boxes. And I think that's because you got to pay a fee to CrossFit, and it's hard to recoup the money,
Yeah.
right? Because you're going to have like at least 100 people coming to the gym if you want to make money. And I don't think that's happening,
Yeah.
right? And if anything, you just have to have a gym that might be subsidized by other businesses, you know, that kind of thing. Or somebody having a gym just because it's their lifestyle. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I had a gym, my personal gym, and people would come and do CrossFit there, but I was never able to monetize it. It was just too difficult, and I had my other job.
Yeah.
And
Just a lot of stress.
it is a lot of stress, and I just don't think there's enough money in it.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question for you before we wrap this up, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
What do you think, you know, what are your thoughts on Guyana 10 to 15 years from now, based on where we're going? What do you see, you know, where do you see us ending up? What developments do you see happening, or what do you want to see, you know, for your kids in the next 10, 15 years?
I mean, it'd be nice to see a more modern society, right?
Yeah.
With all this money coming in, like everybody's got this expectation it's gonna be like some sort of Dubai. Whenever everybody says Dubai, you know, I don't know. It's cheese. Like even
Dubai is
myself,
the
I'm like,
benchmark. I don't get
I don't
that.
know. I don't. Yeah, because of all the nice fancy buildings, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, that's still an autocracy there. You know, it's not. It's a very different sort of setup. I mean, it's an easy answer to say, oh, I just want to see lots of development and more money and that kind of thing. But it'd be nice for it to be a place where my kids want to stay and live. Right? And it'd be nice if by the time maybe my boy is 18 years old, that he could even stay here, study and live, and not have to go abroad and not have to go outside to get like that sort of educational experience that is supposedly better over there. And if we could just do that sort of thing and as in 5 years, I don't see why we couldn't do that in 5 years and have that sort of society. I mean, one or two good pushes in the right direction. I see like UG is going to be free, but I mean it's all well and good to say that, but how are they going to provide what they have to provide? You know, that's one aspect of it. So that's education. You need opportunity for small businesses. How are we gonna get small business to be able to compete with all of these companies that are coming in? I mean, policy is going to be extremely important, like the kind of policies that they put into play to help small businesses and prevent them from getting like bullied. There's so much, man. Hopefully the electrical grid comes online. That actually is a key factor in us having any sort of long-term sustainability after oil is no longer a factor in maybe a few decades, right? If electricity is half the cost, then we can actually have a manufacturing industry,
Yeah.
which we don't have really. Nothing that competes.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, that's just a few of the things. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's a big question.
For sure. No, 100%. It's just nice to hear what's important to different people, you know, and I'm there with you 100%. You know, but we could only hope and pray, and I hope, you know, more conversations like these just sort of give different perspectives and, you know, really help us figure out collectively where we want to go, you know. So I really appreciate you being here, bro, and you're welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you back again.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely be back, man. This is awesome.
Thank you.